So who actually we're going to start the right? Okay. Let me write. How about Celine? Right, Celine here, Celine. So the notes are going taken,
Yes.
okay, from the recording there, right? Okay. All right, Celine.
Okay.
Tell me about your ideas here.
This one I wanted to show, mm, like the Sullivan following the kid in the movie, like his mind changes to uh he's been scaring kids, but because of the book, his mind changes. So it's like actually in the movie, the monsters don't know he's keeping the kid, but I just wanted to show it more impact. So I said it, they actually know. And then, like, from the Sullivan's face, like, he's confused but still following the kid. So, like, I want to give the difference between the 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 store between for Monster World and then the reality for Boost World. So I want to show the difference, like using different colors or style.
Okay, tell me
Then
about those buildings there, okay, on those environments there. What are the effects that we have, okay, from these presentations here, okay? What are basically you want to show them, okay, based on the design itself, there, right?
art design.
Uh, we-
Basically the you see the building at the middle. The one is I wanted to show the shape that a bit short base home building. Like from the window is the eyes, and then I put some the mouth part at the down, and then the left no, no, right side building also I put some eyes, so it's basically everything looking at Sullivan's behavior.
all right. Is it finished yet? It's not right.
No, 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 I
All
need
right.
to put more detail.
Okay, tell me about this one there.
And this one at the uh so the what was the name? The lizard, he kicked from the
Randall.
monster. Yeah, at the last moment, and then I don't think he will just give up based on his personality. And then I a bit wonder Sullivan could go back to Monster World using another door. So maybe he also can. So like he's waiting for the moment he's going back to Monster World to revenge, but also he's a bit chilling at the place he left. So like I use the design that when he kicked to the another world, I saw the building like camping car, something like that. I think I saw that. So I used that, yeah,
Like
that
caravan, right?
building from,
Mm,
yeah, caravan.
mm-hmm,
So I used that as his house, like, but this house a bit fixing and then made by him.
mm-hmm.
And also there's the door he's researching about how to go back. And then the right side, I want to put more like tools or machines he used inside, but I
What are these?
haven't done.
What are these basically?
There's ocean.
Good, because I think okay, okay. One of the important kind of way to visualize back again the locations, the building of the characters, right? I would suggest, okay, every one of you guys who, right, uh, don't use a lot of top view kind of perspective at the moment there, okay, because we would just want to emphasize the concept of the building itself there, okay, because from this presentation, right, uh, when I actually look at it, right, okay, we can't see the clear kind of ideas, uh, how actually the buildings of the characters the design itself will reflect basically the characters, right, okay, we doesn't see clear enough, okay, because the locations, the arrangements, the layout basically, right, okay, the building is quite far, okay, from top, right, okay, because we only focus on the characters here. You can see the flow or the focal point, right, okay. So that means we emphasize more into characters other than the buildings there, right, okay. So the layout, the composition is not that right there, right, okay. If you use a very modern kind of layout, for example, like very straight ahead, right, okay, the buildings are going to be in the middle there. Maybe a small characters are the Randalls, okay, doing
Oh,
something maybe at the what we call that outside of the building there, okay, is more than enough there, okay, because we want to see the concept, we want to see the real concept that you are going to design for the building, other than you just do more kind of what we call that all the surrounding without having a lot of what we call that connection between the characters and also the building or the environment itself there, okay. Even though you try to put this kind of what we call that the door itself there, right, okay, it doesn't
mm,
look quite balanced enough there, right, okay. Remember that, okay, balanced enough, that's the word
okay.
there, okay. So even though if you take a look at my previous composition when I draw the characters of ayam, they reckon the chicken there, okay, kind of what we call that barnyard there, where I'm using a top view here, okay, but I add enough kind of informations and clear kind of ideas how the building is going to be look like there, okay. So those are the most important thing about our presentations here, okay. Everyone, okay, make sure you take those notes there, because I see some of you guys have a clear kind of ideas. This okay, good already, but you have to add a bit more details on that. All right.
Okay.
So right now there, Shalene there, all right,
Yes.
make sure we have a clear kind of ideas, okay. Well, we are not actually doing what we call that some sort like sceneries or scene from the movies there, but we are going to design a scenario, what we call that environments, buildings that represent the characters itself. Even though we can add some of the characters here that represent the monsters there, because if you add those characters, they're going to be make the the environment design look more alive there, right? Okay, it's good there,
Mm,
but focus more on the buildings there, right? Okay, I want to see how far you can design the imaginary kind of buildings, all right, based on this
okay.
concept there, right? Okay,
Okay.
all right. Okay, explain about this one there.
This one. This one also the uh when this is how Wachowski feel about the situation, like the buildings. Actually, this is really not done, the detail, but the most important part is so they were number one team in the company, but because of the kid, like they're having trouble, and then they're how to say the so that they are losing that they are number one. So I put the neon sign that's already breaking down, and then the
These,
mm,
these are,
actually this
these are,
one I'm a bit lack of idea.
these are the scene from the ending part there, right?
Uh, and
Yeah,
I and ending is already happy.
yeah. This is a scene from the climax there, right? Okay, from the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right, right,
climate.
right, right.
Yeah,
In the studio, is it right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
then they are like running away.
Okay. But if you take a look at this composition for media, okay, okay, we have the clear idea basically, the placement, the arrangements of the object of the buildings that you want to add there, okay. So we have the clear ideas from here, but only lack of details, lack of more kind of what we call that some of the importance kind of part that we actually can add a bit more, okay, to make it this composition a bit more maybe messy enough, okay, or more clear enough, okay, for us to work, okay, but we can see the clear kind of understanding between the buildings there, okay, maybe this is studio there, right, okay, and also this is what the
Mm-hmm.
wall there, right, okay. We can see basically the compositions is there, right, okay, but you
Mm-hmm.
have to add a little bit more kind of details, some of the element that represent basically these locations there, okay. I don't know whether you guys can actually add a little bit more props, right, okay, some tables there, or maybe some of the things that you can find from the stories that itself, from the movie itself. Okay, take notes, write down it first, and then you can add all those kind of elements, okay, in your compositions there. So one of the way that help, okay, you guys to visualize more there, okay, based on this composition is try to capture or take notes or record, all right, things that actually the elements that you can add, okay, okay, during your research by watching those movie back again, right? What are the small elements that represent those kind of visuals there? All right. Okay. Thank you, Shilin. There, right? Okay. I want to check
Okay.
back again this movies here. Okay, let me check back again. Okay, if we can actually go browse on the movie there, right? Okay. Okay. What are the difficulty that you face from here, Shilin? Can you actually tell us there, right? Okay. Do you
Sorry.
have any kind of difficulty? Do you have any kind of difficulties?
No, just adding details. That's it.
Just adding details there.
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't have any difficulties there.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
fully understand about movie, just detail.
All right. So let me check that right. Okay. One of the elements that we can actually add from here. All right. If you check it closely, directly, or some of the buildings there, like just some of the location, but this is the interior there. Okay. I don't think we can actually focus on the interior. Okay. But if you can see, okay, what are the details that we can find from here, like dustbin there, right? Okay, some of the pictures over here, right? Okay, all these kind of small element that you guys can actually some notes to, okay, or maybe sketch a few rough ideas, okay, on your kind of what we call that design or sketches there, okay. It will help you to gain more kind of understanding, all right, what kind of element that you guys can play around, all right, arrange them back, right, okay, in your compositions there, okay. Those are the things. That's how actually we can create more ideas, okay, because I do believe that you guys have the clear understanding where the direction you want to go from here there, okay, but the lack of the about the detailing there, okay, so okay, the element that you want to add from there that represent basically the characters itself there, right, okay. And sometimes we can actually go into different kind of movies that also that can help us to 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 combine or to develop more understanding directly on the element that we can actually represent for each character that we choose, okay, to develop this kind of environments, the building itself directly, other than use a different kind of concept of subject matters, okay, that we can use to work with it, right, okay, like for examples, okay, if I may actually go through with some of the Googles there, right? If you take a look closely from here, all right, let's just say garbage areas there, right? Okay, for example, there, right? Okay? Because you want to find some inspirations, right? It doesn't mean that something from the movies there, but you can recreate them back, right? Okay, to develop a little bit more kind of understanding, right? Okay, garbage city there, right? For example, okay, let me check there, right? So all these kind of inspirations, all these kind of ideas can be developed as a part of your way of working or to find more research, okay? Okay, if you take a look at this building there, right, okay? Okay, it's very unique kind of compositions there, right? It's hardly can see, can saw from from our areas there, okay? But we can actually recreate, reimagine them back into a monster cities there, right? This is one of the way that we can actually work through, right? Uh, the other thing that we can actually go through there, okay? I always actually uh, look back again into some of the animations kind of concept design or background design that can be used as a part of my inspirations on working with my ideas there. So what basically I can actually do from here that I always take a look at different kind of subject matters that can help me to understand a bit more on how actually I'm going to visualize things here, okay? So when I actually look at your previous kind of sample of works, right, okay, okay, you guys have this kind of a standard kind of certain kind of way of working on the okay, or styles of working on the okay. I don't see any kind of varieties there, right? Okay, but when I look at the exercise that you did, okay, for for our weekly exercise previously, right? I can see that you guys have diversified. You can actually diversify different kind of way of working there, okay? But for this presentation, for this progression, I don't see those kind of diversities of your presentation there, okay? So those are the things that actually lack from most of the presentation, most of the submission that we have, okay, within this 2 weeks time there, okay? So hopefully, right, if you take a look at this image there, okay, this is from Embedded Zim there, okay? One of the animated series around 2000 something there, right, okay? I think or 2003, 2002 there, right, okay? I don't know whether you guys have seen this kind of uh, animated kind of series, okay? But they combine 3D and 2D kind of what we call that compositions there and elements there, right, okay? So if you take a look at this building there, okay, you can use also these kind of ideas as a part of your sparks of your imagination there to redesign the monsters kind of buildings that represent the character. This is look more a bit like more like a factory kind of looks, industrial kind of looks there, right? But also represent an alien, also monsters there, right? Okay. So look at the element that they use there, okay? So most of the element using a very simple kind of basic structures and shapes, but they combine it together using square, triangle, circles there, right? Okay, half circles, okay. All this kind of understanding of using basic structures and shapes will help you to develop more kind of effective kind of understanding. Even though you can use also organic kind of shape if you want to, directly like from mushrooms, tree, cactus, right? Okay, any kind of what we call that organic kind of elements that you can use, okay, to develop those kind of inspirations of design those buildings. Okay, this is one of the storyboard there. Is some of the building scenarios here, right? Okay, and add some characters on it. So this is the characters the invaders in there. Okay, even though it's not representing our initial kind of what we call that titles, which is monster, right? Okay, but you can learn also from looking from other kind of works that actually can give you more inspirations on the works there, right? Okay, this is one of the this is Zin kind of what we call that the main characters kind of houses there, right? Okay, even houses there, right? They can actually transform into robot there, right? Okay, if you take a look at the perspective also they use a very skew break those kind of perspective, right? Okay, it doesn't matter there, right? Okay, those are the things that good about our project here there, right? Okay, because you have the ability to break basically the rules of those perspectives there, okay, but we can actually use some of the basics understanding, but we're playing around with it, right? Okay, we doesn't have to be more accurate, but the way they choose the colors, the this what we call that is the color kind of schemes that represent the mood of the environments also is very important to works there. Okay, so hopefully you guys can actually improve more, right, based on your what we call that submissions here, okay, for this week, because this is the final submission for our project one, right? Okay, so hopefully you guys can do a little more kind of visual research before you want to develop your understanding. Yeah. I don't say that you can actually use these compositions that works, right? Okay, but you just have to improvise, modify, okay, from that compositions. All right, it will help you to gain more understanding if you actually use the same compositions, but you add your own kind of ideas there, right? Okay, your own kind of what we call that designs kind of understanding, right? Okay, okay, this is also one of the good examples. All right, how actually you're going to get more details, more kind of clear kind of understanding to submit, to present, all right, your kind of environment based on these what we call that titles there, right? Okay, monsters inc, kind of what we call that environment buildings there, right? Okay, so we want to have this clear kind of understanding here, right? Okay, on presentation itself, right? Otherwise I'm afraid you guys, when you present your works, it doesn't look finished there, right? Okay, right? Even though like Julius used a little bit kind of what we call that a little bit detailing on the color concept, right? Okay, but hopefully you can add a little bit more details on clear kind of understanding. Maybe you can use line outline, maybe, right? Okay, depending on how actually you're going to present it, right? Okay, right? To make more clear kind of what we call that visual kind of presentations, okay, on your own works there, right? Okay, because I want to see how actually you can develop your own styles that are working there, okay? Because I believe you guys have also some similar kind of subjects, right? Using this concept art there, right? Okay, uh, for other subject that can be used also in this what we call that module there, right? Okay, that means we can combine together all the things that you guys have learned or experienced, okay, during the process of learning. It's okay to present your ideas right here. We're talking about to present ideas here. If you don't have enough kind of understanding or clear kind of ideas on the environment, on the building itself, or the design itself, right? Okay, it's hard for us later on to what we call that to 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 make people understand the directions, all right, of our works, okay, the directions of our design itself, okay, that represent some of the stories, some of the animations, some of the games that right, okay. So right now we all actually work individually there, right? Okay, the only person that actually talk to you, okay, about to comment about your works only me there, okay. But these sessions, hopefully, right, I want to hear your collective kind of informations for any kind of thing that you find difficulties that works, right? Okay, so this is something that I can show you guys, okay, how it works there. All right, okay. So sometimes it doesn't have to be a lot of shadings and shades that work, right? Okay, flat colors, right, is more than enough, but you can see more clear ideas how it works there, right? Okay, so depending how actually you're going to present it, right? Okay, is some of the sketches they actually been working on, right? Okay, the environment itself, right? Some of the locations of the tunnels, uh, of the interiors there, of the spaceships. All right. So when you design also those characters, you can actually redesign them back, right? Okay? Draw those characters back again. All right. And also, when I actually look at your kind of drawings here, there, right? Okay. Do you actually use basic structures there to draw, rough kind of sketches there to draw? Okay, just like this one, all right, before you add some of the details there, all right? So hopefully you guys can actually write improve more on the presentations here, because our class only, okay, we have gap around 6 days, right, okay, for you guys to prepare your kind of what we call that submissions here. So hopefully you guys can add a little bit more on details after this day, right? All right.
Okay.
So, all right. Thank you, Shalene. All right, Aaron.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you explain a little bit on your kind of ideas here, or any
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing that you want to speak out, right, okay, for these presentations?
All right. So for this CDA character, because it's more like the police department, so I want to. It's more like a corporation, like a big corporation. It's more formal, and so the environment I wanted to make it to like a mega city, like a big corporation kind of town.
Okay.
Mhm.
Do you have any plan how actually you're going to add those details later on?
Oh, and this photo bashing.
Okay. Do you have any progress that you can show to us today?
I did colored for the other three characters.
Okay.
Not this one. Yeah, it's further down later on.
All right. Okay, other than that,
For the Yeti, it's pretty obvious. It's the snow area. Yeah, and
so,
also mostly his place. It's cave. It's not really a building. It's more like out in the nature.
okay, yeah. So this is the exterior there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are these?
Giant ice pillars kind of thing. Yeah.
Right, for the Randall.
A Randall, cause his entire shape is more like a snake. It's very slippery.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted his place to be tentacles and irregular in shape, small fluidity inside. And I don't know. I feel like there's an element of poison inside.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe terrain it's poisonous. It's a lot of acid and all that.
All right.
And Jeff, he's an engineer, so I wanted to make like a junkyard, something like that. And then the house is also based on his body shape. And also, I actually colored the both of his concept.
All right.
If you
Oh,
scroll
this
down,
one there, right? Yes. Okay, good. So this is one of the good example also, guys. Okay, you can see the, okay, we have the clear ideas. Okay, how actually the environments, okay, the design of the buildings, locations are going to be look like. Right? Okay, it doesn't have to be. Yes, of course, right? Okay, if you take a look at those details, right? Okay, but the line also is very rough, kind of sketch there, right? Okay, so that means even though it's a rough sketch, right? Okay, we can see the focal kind of points. Okay, okay, the directions of the design itself, where we can go from here there, right? Okay, so all the things is very clear there. Okay, we can see the style that you're going to present, or to show basically, right? Okay, to present the characters itself there, right? So so this is one of the good example also how it works then, right? But uh, as I actually mentioned to you guys, okay, if you if some of you guys actually have a hard time to create this kind of locations or environments, or the compensation itself, right? Okay, one of the best way for you guys to do right now, right? Okay, one of the good way, right? Okay, you guys can find any kind of locations that you find interesting. Then you can use this photo back again, but you recreate back again, reimagine, redesign, all right, the buildings, okay, into your own kind of ideas there. Right nowadays, basically, there's a lot of what we call that way that we actually can use, okay, to help us to imagine a little bit more better there, right? Okay, if you take a look at my earliest kind of what we call that demonstrations and how actually I redesigned those totem kind of building based on the KLCC there, right? Okay, so we only need to play with our imaginations there. Okay, those imaginations were not came from nowhere there, okay? It came from the experience that each of you guys have experienced before, right? Okay, that's why to become a very good kind of designer, basically, we have to watch a lot, we have to observe a lot, right? Okay? And then from that observations, right? Okay, from that experience of watching a lot of good things, right? Okay, on animations, films, videos, okay, pictures, right? Okay, comics, whatever that resources that you guys have there, right? Okay, even though you don't like it, right? Okay, it doesn't mean it's not a part of your job to to observe, to watch, right? To keep in your mind, and then you try to blend it up into your blood, right? Okay, to 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 give a bit more kind of impact later on for your kind of work directly, for your process work directly, because we are actually in a creative kind of situations or learning kind of process right here there, right? Okay, so any kind of resources that can help us to imagine a bit more, because if you take a look at Monster Inc., right? Okay, the first main kind of buildings, factories, is a little bit more like a real life kind of factories there, but they tweak a little bit, they change a little bit, right, into more on their bridges there. So they basically, we actually can do the same thing, right? You guys also can do the same. You can take the very basic structures right here, and then all this kind of perspective, all this kind of what we call that the structures, kind of basic structures over here, you can actually redesign it back again into your own way of working there, right? But of course, to play with this kind of creativities, you have to go back into the basic structures, and you have to know what kind of subject matter that you're going to use, right? That represent the characters itself, right? Okay, like Randall, he has a very slick, evil kind of what we call the looks, okay, and also look like a snake, a lizard, a little bit, okay. A lizard will actually stay in swarm there, right? Okay, so those kind of what we call the informations you can use back again, and then you guys can actually uh, search the right, okay, okay, swarm the right, okay, what are the elements that we have in swarm the right, okay, that can be used as a part of your kind of inspirations there. If you ask me the right, okay, some of the trees or shapes, or not this one there, right? Some of the shapes of those trees can be a part of an ideas we can develop into buildings there, all right, okay, into buildings there, right? Okay, so you have to think outside from your own kind of comfort zone there, okay. If you take a look at this tree there, okay, if you look as a layman, yes, they look it's a tree there, okay. But if you take a look closely there, okay, it look like a building here, like a tree house there, okay. So those kind of inspirations that you have or ideas that you have inside your mind, even in your inner voice, right? Say something that beyond your kind of what we call that normal kind of feelings there. Use them and try to come up with those ideas there. Redesign a few there, okay? And for me, okay, do several times, okay, then you will improve more, okay, to work on that. If you draw once and then you cannot get it right, find more resources, find more inspirations, and then redesign or redraw back again there, okay, to work there, right? Okay, that's how actually imagination sometimes will work, right? It's not only think and not execute there again. We have to think and try to fantasize a little bit and execute there. Make mistakes once, it doesn't mean you're going to make mistakes all the time, okay? Because our brain basically works when we actually repeat all this kind of routine all the time there, right? Okay? If you try to want to break those kind of routine, we have to practice along the way. Okay, if you look at these buildings there, right? Okay, this kind of tree, right? It look like a building there. It look like a pyramid kind of shapes there. There's a whole kind of what we call that can be developed as a door itself, as the entrance there, right? Okay, you can add a little bit more like the shapes of the windows maybe there, okay? All these kind of things can be created, guys. Okay, can be created there. So if it's hard for you to imagine, right, purely, right, okay, from your imaginations like this, more like a parade, like a fun fair, like a small town there, right, okay? Look like if you go into what we call that, one of the not the IKEA, right, okay, one of the kids kind of what we call that playground or buildings there, okay? So you can actually find some of the reference right here. You can actually use as a part of your guideline, right, okay? Before you actually going to reimagine them back there, right? So if you take a look, right, if you understand the subjects of your kind of what we call that characters, right, okay, the elements that can be used as part of your characters kind of subject matters there, right, okay? So you can use all these kind of elements to redesign the back, redesign the back, then back, right, to work with it, right? So this is how actually we can actually practice a bit more on our imagination there, right? So this is all a part of it, right? Okay, the way that actually we're going to work right now, right? Okay, we just want to play with those imaginations there. Okay, look at the buildings of this what we call that cabin there, right? Okay, this is I think from the games there. So you can use these compositions and redraw back again if you don't have what we call that. If you have hard time to imagine on yourself, the right? Okay, you have to imagine the right? Okay, let's just say we look at caravan or right swarm and caravan, the right? Okay, see whether we can have right some information from here. Okay, Shalene said just now. All right. Okay, this is one of the design for the caravan there. This is some of the pictures we can use there, right? This look a bit more like a messy kind of place from the game, right? Okay, game kind of what we call that. Let's have illustrations here. But if you take a look at this one, like a junkyard, kind of what we call that, places that they put all this kind of old caravan. Okay, this also can be a part of composition. That if you take a look differently, right, in the different perspective, right, okay, you can use all these elements as a part of your ideas to develop those locations that were okay, those kind of what we call that buildings that were okay. Everything could be possible if that works. Sometimes we can combine, right? Okay, I did give you guys some examples before, even though it's only exercise, right? Okay, how actually I'm combine few kind of different kind of elements, right? Few kind of pictures combined to get into the concept of the building there, right? Okay, even though I didn't show you guys more into details there, but the ideas of working with those ideas that combine the element around you to become one part of the what we call the environments of buildings or concept of the buildings itself. That okay, it can be used as a part of your way of working. All right. So always search okay into the reference there how it works. Like it is like the caravan actually have been flooded, right? Okay, but even though this is a bad situation for someone else there again, but we can use as part of our ideas to spark for our reference there, okay? So bad situation for someone else, it doesn't mean we cannot use them as a part of our ideas that works. All right. So all this kind of okay, this is not a very good situation, okay, for the real life, but it's a good composition for our imaginations there, right? Like a floating kind of caravan there, right? Okay, in the waters, there on the waters there itself, there, okay. So this is the floating kind of what we call that cars there, right? Okay, that we right. Those kind of things can be used as a part of our ideas that to work there, right? Okay, to combine all these kind of elements there to work there. So in order to develop those ideas, we cannot be too straightforward, too naive to follow the rules that okay. We are always can bend a little bit on the rules of the natures itself, right? To get more kind of understanding on our own imaginations there, right? Okay. So next one there, right? Okay, Una. I think I've opened Una just now. All right, Una, how is it?
Yes, I'm here.
Huh? Oh, wait up, huh?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, here.
All right, Una. Okay, can you explain a little bit on your ideas here? Yes, Una. Are you
Yes?
ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I talk my work's idea.
Hmm.
Uh, this work I use the monster tone.
Just so.
And actually this monster is a building. So maybe I want to change something look like building. And the color I want to choose a gentle color, look like the watercolor colors.
But it's not finished, all right?
I'm not finished. Oh yeah.
Okay.
But I think m- most of already finished. About this work, maybe on the link I put the shade and the bridge color I want to change and put some the small monster and the color I will change the bridge and put some the
I think you need to consider back again, right? Okay, the choice of colors, right? Okay, even though you can mix a lot of colors there, okay, but I feel that most of the colors is a little bit more like a cool colors there, okay.
yeah
So it doesn't actually stand out there, okay, because we can't see the directions. Okay, even though the elements here actually can be used, like some of it you have to improvise a bit more, improve a bit more, okay, because I see a lot of mass kind of what we call that doesn't have any kind of what we call the directions of the works directly because we can see a lot of buildings or maybe monster buildings. We know I don't know directly whether this is a building or monsters directly. So so we
really
can't see clear basically your directions is directly. Even though you want to draw some buildings look like a monster, I don't know directly. This may be my kind of what we call that opinion there, or maybe my kind of understanding directly. So like I said, okay, you need to work out a bit more, make sure that the directions were clear enough there, okay? Whether this is the buildings or this is obviously is a building, okay, but this is a building or monsters there, okay? There's one, two, three, four elements there, right? So make sure you give a little bit more kind of clear understanding on the presentation itself, okay? Otherwise, we can't see whether this is the building or monster itself, right? So if I may actually, uh, I don't know, I can share with you guys, right? Okay, I don't know whether I have the samples or not here. All right. So if we take a look at, Let me check back again, right? Okay, my kind of samples of working there, right? I don't know whether I have here or not there. So let me check. I don't know. I don't have here. Okay, let me check back again. All right. Okay. Now, what are the sound is that? Huh? All right. We take a look at this one there, right? Okay. This is
Yeah.
one of the illustration I did. Okay. That based on the concept of this building is more into like mushroom and trees there, right? Okay.
Yes.
So if you take a look closely there, okay, we can see all the details. Okay, even though it's a very rough kind of concept of the buildings there, but we can see the trees elements that I use, the color combinations that I use also. Uh, it show a little bit more like a focus there, okay, on the design itself, okay, because I didn't choose a lot of colors. Even though you can see we can use, I use a few numbers of primary colors for the trees there, but I tried to harmonize the colors back again for the buildings there, but not using too much colors there, okay?
Yeah.
So this is how actually we can actually, one of the way also I represent my works, right, okay? To present those works that this is a floating kind of cities, like a small kind of cities that based on one of the locations, okay, from my own story there. So if you take a look here, how actually I represent back again, okay, without using any outline there, but I combine some of the outline strokes from there. You can see some clear ideas, okay, how actually we can go from here to design our kind of locations and environment of those buildings there, right? So if you take a look at this one there, okay, I draw my own version of KLCC there, right, okay?
Yeah.
And KL towers together there, right, okay? And some of the buildings, a very rough kind of, I think kind of looks there, right? But everything from this kind of illustrations, you can see a clear kind of what we call that presentations, information, visual information that I want to portray, okay, for this kind of what we call that presentations here, all right? Without what we call that having a lot of what we call that mixed up with a lot of colors, but we don't have any harmonized or balance there, okay? I use very cool colors for the foreground. The
Mm.
background's a little bit more warm colors there. You can see the difference there? Two
Yes.
different colors there. Right. Same goes to these compositions there. This is basically from one of the comics that I want to produce there, okay? But if you take a look here, in the beginning of the backgrounds of the ground itself, there's a cool colors that mix up with warm colors, okay, at the back there, okay, to show the distance, right, okay, to show the distance, to show the depths, okay, of those visuals there, okay, all right. This is how actually one of the way, okay, that we actually can redevelop those kind of understanding. Okay, this is my reference there, right? This is all my reference. Okay, when I actually want to design those kind of situations there, right? But it doesn't mean that I actually just trace them or draw them back, but just as a part of my inspirations there. Okay, I'll gather all these kind of things to get more inspirations, okay, before actually I'm going to redesign the colors, right, okay, okay, the buildings, okay, the color combinations from there, right, okay. So this is some of the characters that I actually redesigned, okay, based on the monsters itself there, right, okay.
Yeah.
But you can see all this kind of presentation is very clear there, okay, for us to understand where the directions of our design are going to be there, okay, heading to there, right? Okay? We're actually going to go to there, right? So those are one of the examples that I can share with you guys here. Um, what else we can actually check as we switch from this? All right, let me check that, right? What I have. Hmm. Okay, now this one there, right? Okay, the building itself there, right? Okay, if you saw this one there, okay, but this one I'm using AI there, okay, vectors there, okay, to work with that. If you saw this building there, okay, that represent the monsters itself there, okay, I combine organic and also geometric industrial kind of shapes there. So you can you actually see the difference between the buildings and also the monsters that are around them there, right? All
Yeah.
right, this is how also how actually we can actually mix up all these elements together there, right? Okay. It doesn't mean that you can't, right? Okay, based on your presentations. It doesn't mean that you can't, okay, but we can actually combine the element of the monsters into the buildings. But it
Yeah.
has to be look like a building, right? Okay? It doesn't look like a monster itself. Otherwise, we cannot actually differentiate between monsters and also buildings there. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also when you design something, right, okay, make sure you feel good inside, okay. Even though I know that you guys have a lot of assignments, all this kind of pandemic, right, okay, stay at home sometimes make us feel like crazy, there, right, okay, because we cannot go outside, right, okay. But right now we can, right? So we can spend a bit more outside, kind of what we call that way of living there, right, okay. But in order to develop this kind of way of imaginations, kind of drawings, illustrations, design itself, the right, okay, make sure you can actually develop kind of good feelings when you design something there, because all those kind of good emotions and feelings will came out back again into your works there, okay, because if you feel exactly what you want to do there, right, okay, so it's actually important for us to develop, right? Feel, okay, to develop this kind of good feeling when you design something. Even though you design a monsters or bad kind of what we call the situation that you have in life, but when it comes to design things, make sure you have a very good feeling that you can actually focus to develop your ideas there. That's how we can drive more on our works there, okay? All right.
Yeah.
So hopefully, okay, you have some sort of ideas actually back in how actually you're going to do those works there. All right. So this is also one of my examples, okay, few years back, basically, okay. Okay, you and I actually want to design some of the murals, okay, from some of the buildings there, using the monsters concept there on this work.
Yeah.
So if you take a look at another buildings that have been designed there, okay, I'm using one of the flower elements there, right, okay, flower elements there, okay, by working with this kind of castles there, okay.
Yeah.
So this is also a part of the inspiration that you can get from the flowers itself there, right? And combined with some of the basic structures of buildings there, okay? So
Yeah.
those kind of what we call that uh, fundamental kind of understanding how to work with the basic structures, shapes, right? That can be used as a part of your ideas to spark your ideas to reimagine back again your kind of what we call that uh, environments or building or design or concept designs, okay, for your projects there, right? Okay, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions, Una?
No.
No? All right. If you take a look at back again at my design of this row, this is okay. This is the same thing there. Uh, I have shown you guys this one before there, right?
Yeah.
If I want to recap back again, right? When I actually want to design those elements of those buildings, I will have to make sure that everything has to be clear there, okay? that's what like Shilin just now when she designed those work, okay, we can't see the clear ideas how it works there. Okay, when you saw Aaron actually right how they visualize the ideas there, okay, we can see the clear ideas how it works there, okay. Even though if you take a look at uh where is it, okay, even though Joanna also have the clear ideas how it works there, because but I didn't saw from this presentation yet. All right, how actually she's going to construct and finalize them back. Hopefully she has the ideas from there, right? Okay, but most of the design that she actually produced have the clear kind of understanding there. All right, so how where the direction we can go, we just can add a little bit more kind of what we call a detail later on there, right? Even though Julius also have a very clear ideas on where the direction where he wants to go there, all right, but hopefully he can improvise a bit more, right, on the presentation there, right? All right, thank you there, right? Okay, Wuna. Right now, all right, can we go to Joanna? Joanna? Joanna, are you here?
Yes, I am.
All right. How is it?
Actually, this is the 10 sketches. I'm in the process of detailing the 5 chosen ones, but I
Okay.
didn't upload yet. So, because last week I didn't show the 10 sketches, right?
Okay. Do you have any plan there, right? Okay. How actually going to detail out them back?
I do, because how I did this was my thumbnails when I first created it, the things I found problem with was my perspective and the style. Because when I was thinking monsters, I have like my style is not like for kids, so I wanted to change that a bit. So I reference like real environments and environments from animation, kind of combine both. And for the style, actually I made like a mind map on each characters, and then I extracted some important like characteristics, traits and stuff, and then yeah, that's how I did most of it.
All right. Okay. One of the okay to connect with the ideas of monsters in kind of design, etc. Okay. Uh, I'm also uh, find some of the inspiration sometimes by looking at this kind of what we call the playground, playhouse kind of design there, right? Okay. So this is also one of the way actually I can get some ideas or inspirations to work with this kind of initial kind of ideas here, right? Okay. So for some of you guys who doesn't have any kind of ideas or how it's going to work, right? It's quite hard for us to imagine, right? Okay. So for me, okay, this is one of the good example you guys can use, all right? You can use back again the perspective, the angles, the shots there, the reference, the samples, and of course we redesign them back again, the right key, and put into a little bit more like a monsters kind of elements from here. Okay, guys. So all these kind of connections, all this kind of information, basically we already have in our what we call that in our clouds there, right? Okay. So we just have to know and find. That's why discussion is really important there. Right. Well, I'm using this kind of opportunity because I'm waiting for you guys to buzz me in any time, okay, when I'm around there, okay, in those 6 days kind of period there. But I think Joanna actually have updated me a few there, right?
So
Okay.
I didn't finish the task.
Sometimes a few of you guys also have update, right? Okay, but most of you guys don't there, right? Okay, maybe you guys busy doing something else there. So I, I, I I believe that you guys actually have more mature enough, right, okay, to work on yourself, that okay. But of course, okay, even though I'm also need someone else also to discuss with my clients all the time, there, okay, I did actually do most of my kind of what we call that my kind of what we call that uh, kind of thing for myself there, okay. I didn't actually do my own kind of what we call that what we call that we don't actually make our decisions all the time there, okay. That's why when I actually work with my clients, I always give also a lot of mistakes, okay, or maybe room for them to improve back my works, okay, to give more comment, okay. So those are the good thing about that, okay, to discuss our ideas, informations, our things, okay, with second or third person, right? Okay, in our group itself, right? Okay, so that you can get more ideas from there. So like Joanna or the rest of you guys, right? Okay, if you have any ideas, right? Okay, this is some of the things that I actually can share with you guys also to give a bit more kind of ideas, understanding how it works there. Okay, when you talk about perspective, bad at perspective there, right? Okay, one of the best thing and good thing we have right now, use the right kind of reference samples to guide us there. All right, then we redraw back again. That works. Even though it doesn't look a little bit more like a normal kind of traditional kind of way of working there again. And I want to stress you guys one thing here, right? Okay, we have a new era nowadays, right? Okay, people doesn't give a damn about how actually you get those kind of resources, right? Okay, when it comes to real life, there, okay. But sometimes yes, okay, if you work with more proper kind of production works, right? Your art directors, your creative directors, your directors basically, or your project managers need to know also where your resources is. All right. But most of the typical kind of way of working, especially in Malaysian, right? Okay, especially in Malaysian, I don't actually talk bold about this one, right? But it's a reality, right? Okay? Client doesn't care about it sometimes. They doesn't care about it. They don't. They just want to see the finished products there, right? Okay? If they don't see any kind of finished products, that means you have to redo back again. So right now, the best way for us to get more kind of ideas of understanding is to get more reference that works. For me, okay, this is one of my solutions there. If I find myself it's quite hard for me to imagine the okay, one of the best way is get more kind of reference from here and then reimagine that back, reproduce them back. We not copy them, but we want to use those compositions there. We want to use those kind of perspective there. Right? We want to use those angles there. All right, just to give our way of working more effective, okay, more effective kind of imaginations there, more effective kind of developments there. If you take a look at this Q kind of design there, okay, it's very interesting there, right? So it can be used as a part of your understanding, your way of working later on to redevelop them back into your own kind of monster house there. All right. So this is one of the good experiences there. Have you guys actually looked into this kind of designs in the process of working with it within 2 weeks there?
I did.
Yeah. Who? Joanna.
Yep.
Okay, good. There, okay. So all this kind of way, all this kind of what we call that reference is really good. But sometimes people doesn't actually have enough kind of time to think more from here there, okay, or sometimes lack of understanding or experience there maybe there, okay. So now I give you guys this kind of examples there, okay, where actually my resources is, right, okay. I always feel excited, okay, nowadays, okay, when I do those work because I can spend more times doing more research than the works there, right? Because why? Because there's a lot of information. Okay, I didn't have to go to libraries anymore. Okay, I didn't have to browse all my DVDs, right? Okay, as my reference there. Okay, anymore. Okay, because everything's in our single click there. Okay, as long as you have you can online there. Okay, even though right now I'm still online using my data there. Okay, but I have the privilege there, okay, to share with you guys also, okay, some of the methods how actually you're going to work more effective way that okay to work there. But I didn't want to teach you guys to trace only there. We have done those kind of drawings, okay, trace, okay, from the previously, or okay, from our exercise. But right now, how to reimagine back again using the resources that we have, just to help us to imagine more better there, okay. Imagine more better there, okay. That's how actually imaginations works. All right. So that's how imagination is going to do it. Because that's why if you take a look at some of the making of videos from the Pixar animation, okay, how they do the research, right? Every single ideas or movies they actually came out, okay, they have a 2-3 years back, right, okay, of research that before they actually work with the productions. So they go to a lot of places there before that, okay, just to get the feels from their team there, okay, to visualize some of the yeah, what we call that environments or imaginations kind of drawings that they want to produce, okay, on those location on the set itself there, okay. But even though they can actually go to some of the locations, they did also do some Google some sort of reference there or research, okay, just to get more information from there, right? Okay, all right, guys. So that's how actually we're going to go from there. Okay, if you take a look at most of the illustration and design from here also, okay, you can use as part of your inspiration, but we don't actually look into more into details like this one there, okay. But this is more into illustrations kind of works there. You can use also as part of your reference or inspiration there to works. All right, guys. So when I actually do a lot of most of my works there, okay, previously there, okay, I did go to some of the places, okay, like this one, this comic that, okay, that I actually did there, okay. I go into Thailand, but I didn't go to Pattani there, okay, because there's some sort of like the small kind of what we call that chaos that came from there. Okay, so I just go to Bangkok only and do a little bit more research from there. But I did also, when I actually want to compile all this kind of visual and information there, okay, I did actually do a lot of browsers from the internet, right? Okay, to gain more information on those kind of what we call that scenarios that I want to use, okay, to work. Okay, I did also shoot a lot of modeling. I model myself some of the poster, okay, just to give more impact on the actions, on the situations, on the composition itself, right? Okay, so those are the things that I've done a lot, okay, because that's why when all this kind of workload that we actually want to do, okay, there's a lot require a lot of times, a lot of what we call that all kind of burning there, okay, because we have to spend more time, do more research, and we're going to compile everything and redraw back again and redesign back again, right, okay, according to our plan or our composition itself there, okay. But of course, if you didn't enjoy yourself developing those kind of ideas there, you will find a lot of like pain in the ass kind of things there, okay, that happens there, okay. But if you really enjoy yourself on working on that, okay, the things that worth it, okay, it's all about your kind of what we call the grades and the marks there. Okay, and those are the things I can promise from there. All right. So from here, okay, from this kind of presentation that I actually going to show you guys also, right, okay, this is all my reject kind of works there from the clients there. You can see, right, even though I actually submit the complete kind of works, okay, to visualize those ideas there. But if you have client from hell or maybe the project managers from hell there, okay, this is what happens, okay, even though you present the actual kind of presentation for some of the visuals there, okay, if people don't understand the directions of your works, right, they didn't actually understand their own works there, okay, this is what happens there, okay, they reject all this kind of works there, okay, I'm good with it, right, okay, but this is the situation that people will have, okay, we also going to experience there. But right now I didn't actually reject entirely of your work there. I just want you guys to improve more from there. All right. So those are the things that I want to give you guys a bit more kind of experience there. Right. So I don't reject your works, but I want you guys to improve from what you guys have worked before there. Okay. Because I see you have those ideas there, but need a little bit more time for you guys to develop kind of understanding, okay, on your work there, right? Um, Let me check back again, okay, whether I have some of the information, visual information for you guys, okay, to share with you guys more there, right? Okay. Uh, I don't know whether I have more there, right? Mm, but we talk about cartoon versions there, okay, oh, maybe some of the children's books there, right? But this one doesn't actually feel a little bit more like environments there, but more like an abstract kind of environments there. But if you take a look at the spaceships over here, there, right, that I actually designed here, look like a monsters kind of spaceships, more like a children's kind of drawings there, right? Okay, it can represent also a monster kind of buildings there, right? Okay, so that means anything can be possible there, okay, for these kind of presentations that to work there, right? Okay, so you can use a children's kind of way of illustrate kind of works there, okay, to represent your kind of ideas there, okay? One of the way also when I actually design, try to get some inspirations. I'm going to find, okay, some of the inspiration from children's books illustrations there. All right. So a lot of good kind of design will came from here there, okay, kind of ideas there, okay. So I will find some of the way to get more ideas. All right. Okay, from these inspirations of children's books illustrations there, right? Okay, if you guys familiar with this kind of children's book illustrations, there's a lot of very good ideas, okay, we can get from here, okay. If you take a look at right, the design itself, right, a little bit more like a childish kind of design there, right, okay, but it's really effective for us to use, okay, okay, as a part of our ideas, okay, okay. I love to see this kind of what we call that kind of design there, right, okay, some kind of design of illustrations there, right. So this kind of design illustrations, okay, really make me feel a bit more happy when I look at it, okay. Because you know what, okay, life is not that. It's not always have a good time there, right, okay. But when I look at this kind of drawing and illustrations there, right, okay, I feel a little bit more relief for me there, okay. Okay. When I actually look at this kind of design there, okay. So you guys can also get some sort of inspiration from this kind of design and illustrations here, right? How they draw those elements of forest or tree using a very imaginative kind of looks there, right? Okay, right, using those kind of what we call that mushrooms, flowers, right? Okay, more like a patterns, like a tribal kind of patterns on the tree itself there, okay. Those kind of things can be a part of those inspirations, okay, to work with it, all right. So if you go into a little bit more like a Japanese kind of children's book illustrations there, or Iranian kind of illustrations there, okay, you see a lot of out of what we call that box kind of designer, okay, using a patchworks, okay, they use most of like a collage there, okay, kind of designs there, right, the buildings, okay, when I look at these kind of drawings, they're a little bit more like weird kind of buildings there, right, look more like painting itself there, right, okay, it's quite interesting there, right, okay. So this is also one of the way actually we can actually get more inspirations, all right, on our creative kind of process, okay, of working there, okay. So this is from the Iranian kind of what we call that children's books illustrations, right. So you can see a little bit more like a primitive kind of drawings there, right, okay, but drawing by a modern kind of people here, right. So use very primitive kind of drawings that works. So all these kind of visuals, all right, inspirations really help us to gain a bit more kind of improve more on our creative kind of process of working there, right? Okay, take a look there, right? Okay? But all this kind of thing can be used, can be developed using those digital kind of methods there, okay? Using Photoshop that can be worked there. So like when I say you want to use watercolors there, okay? Make sure you use the right kind of amount of styles of way of working when you use the watercolor techniques that it works. I don't know whether I have samples anymore directly using watercolors kind of techniques there, right? Okay, using the digital media there, because I have lost those brushes there. Okay, but if you take a look at this one there, right, the sample of these kind of what we call that illustrations here, I'm using a very wet spotted splash kind of watercolors techniques, okay, using brushes there, okay, in Photoshop that works. So if you want to use watercolor techniques, make sure you use the transparency, right? Okay, a lot all the time, multiply that, okay, to work with this kind of images there, right? All right. So for example, if I want to show you guys a bit more from here, let's just say you want to design a little bit more like a watercolor kind of techniques, right? But I don't have those brushes anymore. I have to download those brush back again. And let's just say I'm going to draw these buildings look like this one there, right? Okay, let me delete this one there first. Okay. So let's just say I want to draw right, this one as a building there. But I didn't, I used a very standard brushes here right now. I'm going to use wet sponge brushes there first. Okay. Choose my own colors there. Yeah. So if I use different kind of flows, basically I can add a bit more on the shadows there. Okay. Shadows there, right? And the other thing that good about it, right, okay, I can actually, right, okay, use a textures, right, a paper textures that to work with it. All right, for example, here, right, if I have this, what we call that, where is it? Okay, papers. Let's say I'm going to use textures, right, papers there. Okay. A little bit more like watercolor, but it's not directly. I paste into over here. Then I'm going to multiply. All right, adjust a little bit here. Okay. Right, then I can reduce the opacity if I want to. Right. So you can get the watercolor effects directly based on the location, based on the building itself there. Right. So what I can do from here, if I want to draw some sort of what we call that, you guys stay with me, right?
Yes.
All right. So let's just say I'm going to draw those. Door there, right? Okay, entrance over here. Copy and paste. I can multiply there if I want to. I can select them back. And then I'm going to use different kind of colors there for the door itself. All right. And actually add new layers. Okay. These kind of techniques require a lot of layers there, right? And I can actually use different kind of brushes here. Right, to get a little bit more like a texture there. I really miss my special watercolor effect brushes there, okay, but I think I need to download back again there again because I just set up and can do this for this pieces here. Maybe I can use the okay, different flows, just a flow a little bit, right? But some of the things, some of the tricks that I use, okay, sometimes, okay, let's just say watercolor effects there, right? Check whether we can actually superimpose them back there, right? Okay. Watercolor effects, uh, PNG. All right. So if I don't have any brush, what I can do there, right? All right, I can download this one. I can actually copy this one there, right? Again, looks interesting here. I can copy this one. Do these images there. Right, all these images that I actually find interesting. I can this one's small there. Right, save the image. This is the one that I get just now there, right? small. This one has patterns there. All right. So let's just say I'm checking this one. For example, there, right? Then I go into right, check this one there, right? Select all, copy, paste into paste right here. All copy there. Right, paste into right here, there, right? Still have those, what we call that. I thought we have those. All right, then we can use this one there, right? Just get the effects there, right? What I can do right now, I can add another details there, right? If I want to. Okay. Copy and paste. Okay. Multiply and reduce the opacity. But I don't like this one there, right? Image over here. A little bit more right here, there, right? Yeah. Yes, I want to cover those areas there. So what I can do right now, I can actually add a little bit more like shadows there. Using the brushes itself, add a little bit kind of tone there. If I use different textures of the brushes, there, right? Then what I can do, I can actually use enough line. Also, I cannot see that, right? I can draw the lines over here, look like this one there, right? So just the patterns there, right? Okay, the patterns of those door. Then I'm going to redraw, right? Okay, maybe I'm going to use, okay, the shapes over here. Right, paint back again. Yes. Right. Use soft brushes. Adjust the flow. It will get more soft kind of looks there. So what I can do next, basically I can actually draw into more details there, right? Copy this part. All right. Copy and paste. I can multiply. Then I actually can draw the grills over here. Okay. Copy and paste. Right, put on top of it, and then multiply them back. And I can use erasers here to blend it up if I want to. Add more and more details that I get from there, right? This is one of the way actually we can use that to work. It's not the only way, but one of the way actually we can use that to work. And what else we can do from here, right? I can actually add a little bit kind of what we call that. Some of the details over here. For example, like this part. Okay, soft, erasing those colors back again. Paint it up here. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit more and more details if I want to there, right? So this is a part of it, right? Okay, how it works. So what I can do from here, so there, right? I can actually draw this kind of what we call that different kind of patterns there, right? Okay, just to add a little bit more details there, right? Okay, on the works. Because of the buildings, okay, the bricks that make these buildings a bit more like a weird kind of buildings there, right? Okay, so I can add a bit more patterns there, right? Very simple kind of shapes of patterns there. Before I'm going to add those windows there, right? So what I can do from here, copy and paste, can get the patterns there, right? Then you can multiply them, reduce your opacities here, right? That can use to works, right? Even though I can use also do some selections over here, copy and paste there, right? Okay, and I can multiply them back there, right? Okay, to get more kind of obviously textures on that, right? So a lot of things we can do from here there, okay? And also if I want to draw a window there, okay, that combine using square there, right? So what I can do right here, either I can actually paint it up, right? Because I'm using multiply, I have to add new layers just to paint it, right? As long as my objective is there, right? Okay, to give more clear kind of understanding on the presentations here. Everything can be fine there. Right. So one idea from that, right? Okay. If you want to copy paste, right? Examples here, multiply. But I know that okay, I didn't use the exact kind of shapes there, okay, because I'm using the soft lines over here. So that means you reject this one. So what I can do, I can draw another one there, right? Okay. Try to create a very skew kind of looks there, okay? So what I can do right here, right? Bring it up back again. And add, right? Another details there, right? Okay. This is not quite detailed, okay? If I want to do more details there, I can again actually, right? Do alternate, select these areas, all right? Then I can paint it with more details there. For example, like that, right? Okay. So that's how actually we can do, okay, from here, okay. A lot of things we can done, okay, from here directly. We can combine with some of the superimpose, right, image manipulations, okay, based on the structures itself, okay, depending how actually you're going to work there, okay. Let's just say you want to combine with, right. Let me check whether we can use some of the what I call effects over here. So they combine them together, okay? So I can't use it. So I have to find more kind of what we call that effective kind of what you call it effects, right? But this one, copy samples here, some selections. I paste into here. Look weird a bit, right? Because we actually mix them up there with the superimpose, not the pure brushes there, right? But what I can do from here, it doesn't look right. So this is a part of my experiment there, okay? Sometimes happens something okay, sometimes not there, right? Okay? But it's a part of the process of experiment with your kind of way of working here, there, right? If I think it's not that right, I will change there. It doesn't look good there, right? One of the things that I've done right now, sometimes I'm using adjust. Where is it? Okay, image adjust, right? Okay, I'm going to use hue saturations, right? Adjust the saturations there into gray there, right? If I want to use the same kind of what we call that textures, right? Okay, for the images there, right? Sometimes I don't there, right? Okay, it doesn't look right. For me, it doesn't look right. But I'm still keep the creative flows flowing there, okay, just to give a bit more kind of chances, okay, to develop more kind of understanding on the work itself there, okay. So there's a lot of things we can do from here there, okay. Even though, right, it doesn't look fine, it's okay. So what I can do right now, I'll go to paper textures there, right, to get more textures, okay, to have a rough kind of textures there, right, for us to work with this kind of what we call that, get more kind of understanding on the, right, maybe this textures is quite suitable there, we never know. This one I can delete there. So what I can do right now, copy paste. Okay, see the textures over here look more, a little bit more promising there, right? So we can reduce a little bit more. And of course, this one there, right? The textures over here, there, right? If I saw this text a little bit more opaque there, right? Okay, what I can do, I can use erasers. All right, brushes there. I can actually adjust a bit, right? Okay, just blend a little bit there, right? Okay, not too rough there, right? Not too solid there. Just mix a little bit, right? Just blend a little bit there, make a little bit more rough there, right? So it doesn't look more like a patterns, but it's more like a blending with the textures there, right? Basically, we need more time, right? Okay, we need a lot of time to experiment or with the technique itself, right? Okay. So what basically I share with you guys today, just like I don't want you guys just get comfortable with what you have only there, okay? Just experiment with a bit more from different kind of way of working. You can use any kind of superimpose kind of techniques that works there later on there, right? Right, it's more like looking more like a old kind of houses there, right? Like a old kind of buildings, like desert kind of buildings there. Using the concept itself there. So what's next we can do from here? Can draw the ground here. But the ground also I didn't actually, right? If I don't want to use the flat kind of ground, I can use lasso back again. There, with more like a parent itself there. So what I can do is I can use same paper textures if I want to, right? I can also change the level of colors there, right? So if you can see there, okay, automatically what we call that spontaneously, what actually I've done right now there, okay, I'm using light and shadows as well there, okay. Obviously you can see the light came over here, right? The shadows came right here. Even though I didn't plan at the early stage, right, okay, but you can see basically it's naturally been done, right, okay, because of you have the whatever that you have in mind, basically, right, okay, they naturally have been flow together, right, okay, with your process of working there, right. So that's how actually we can do from there, right, okay, we can actually develop from there. Right, about the tree itself, right, okay, you want to draw the trees here. Okay, the shadows there first. Let's just tell me to draw this building shadows there, right. Simple kind of shadows, just to make sure that the buildings is not that floating right, okay, on the ground. What I can do right now, copy paste, multiply that, right? One of the way. I can actually blend it up if I want to, right? Later on. So what's next we can do from here? I like someone to draw the tree itself, right? Okay, okay. First of all, the arrangement between the characters, right? Okay, and also the buildings, okay, the measurement there, okay. One of the measurement that we can use there, okay. Let's just say this is the house of Mike there, for example, there, right? Okay, so I didn't plan there, right? Okay, so that means this is Mike Sozowski, right? So he's a green kind of guy there, right? Brushes there. So I'm going to add a bit on the shadows there here a little bit. There. So I need to design my ear. Add some shadows a bit. So the eyes itself, right? If you actually carefully look at my kind of what we call that color of choices there, right? Okay, I rarely use black, right? Okay, for my presentations there. I rarely use black, right? Okay, I'm going to use dark brown a little bit, there, right? Uh, Purple there, right? Okay, to change black colors there, okay, to change for the black colors there. I didn't actually right use purely black, okay, for representations there. Because I want to make sure that I have a more richness directly. Sorry, right. I can do next. Okay, click over there. Right. The next thing is so the way that I paint also directly, I'm using lasso that works there, right? So a different kind of way of working directly rather than use those uh, rather than use brush tools that works using lasso directly to mix them up. And of course, try to make a little bit more like expressions, okay, for the characters itself, okay. If you take it back again, okay, the measurement, okay, maybe I'm going to add scale a little bit there, right, for the characters there to make it more believable there, right, okay. That's how it goes there, right. So this is one of the methods that, okay, that actually we can use to, okay, if I want to draw balconies from here there, okay, maybe I'm going to design those shapes of the balconies like this one there, right. So there's a lot of things we can add a little bit from here there, okay. What I can do here, copy and paste that first. Where is it? Paste, multiply there, right? So what I can do right now, I can add a little bit kind of what we call that a bevel over here there, right? copy and paste, right? You can see the difference kind of, right? Shapes over there. Use cream there, right? Select them back. If I want to draw inside buildings, the inside kind of interiors, okay, to go more and more into details, I can go ahead directly to work with, right? For examples here, but of course, all these kind of things, basically, we have to work out with the sketches there, right? Okay, just show you guys basically some of the quick methods that I can use there, right? Okay, in order to show you guys, right, how it works there. See, this is the door, right? Okay, or entrance, okay, from the inside there, right? Multiply a bit there, right? If I want to grow a little bit, kind of what we call that kind of plants there, okay, or flowers there, okay, at the balconies over here. Using what colors here? What colors that we can use? Maybe pink there, right? Don't forget to add new layers there, because you can change all these colors all the time there. So the pink colors of flowers there, right? Mix them up right later on. The plant look a little bit more like a brain there, okay, like mouth kind of brain, right? But you can see from here, I'm going to draw some flowers over here there, right? Okay, what are the colors of the flowers? Combinations of colors there. Pink with what? Yellow or blue, right? Which one there, right? So all these mixed kind of colors is really important there, right? Okay, like not blue, like turquoise kind of colors there. We can do that, right? Okay. This is only a plan. This is only a rough kind of what we call that. That's it, right? So I'm going to combine with different kind of lines there, okay, just to present some of the plants, trees, or grass there, right? Okay. So because this is a monster's world there, right? So that means anything can be possible, but using our logic by the same time there, right? Okay. Using the line of element of line there, right? Okay. Element of design there to make it more logic there, right? So it's a plan over here. But a lot of things we can actually add there, guys. Okay. If you really into the way of working with your ideas there, right? Okay, it's all based on the experience itself there, right? So right now you can see the depth of fields from there, right? A lot of things we can do from here. If I want to add a bit more, like I don't know, I saw, okay, at some Egyptians, kind of what we call the areas buildings, they have this kind of what we call that a stick or a steel, right? Okay, kind of thing that can be what we call that, hang some of the things all together over here, right? So I just draw them, right? Okay, as a part of my kind of elements to add, right? Okay, into those buildings to make a little bit more what we call that details there, right? Okay, like that. Add a little bit kind of shadows over here, maybe a bit shadows over here, and then we can add also shadows right here. That's it. Colors there, right? And paint it up there, right? Just to give it more kind of details there, right? Okay. Yeah. So a lot of things we can actually plan about, okay? So all these kind of ideas, okay, creative juice, okay, can be what we call that develops, right? Okay, from time to time, right? If you take a look closely at this design, okay, I'm taking from cactus there, okay. cactus kind of looks, cactus kind of design there, right? Okay. A lot of it we can actually add right here. We can add a little bit like canopies over here, right? Okay. Of course, we have to design logically the right, okay, being done, right? Okay. We can add a bit more like canopies over here, right? If you want to, there, right? So a lot of things we can do. Okay, add more windows, right? More windows over here, right? Of course, okay, with Mike Zosky there, right? Okay, in this foreground, in this ground there, right? Okay, what we can do, maybe you can add a little bit more shadows there, right? Too much there. Off brushes a bit. Too much. Yeah, right. Yeah, just to add a bit more logic, right? Okay, for this design there, right? Okay. Yeah. And of course, for the interior, the exteriors there, okay, a lot of things we can do. Okay, we can draw some rocks, right? Where is it? The selections. We can draw the rocks over here. Sorry, there. Okay. Just to add a little bit more details, we can draw some grass. All right. Okay. So for example, like that one. All right. So what I can do next? If I can copy this one there, copy paste. Even though I can paint there, right? Okay, those rocks there, right? Okay. So what I can do right now, I can draw a bit kind of what we call that shadows there. Just to create some shadows kind of form there, right? Okay. Even though small tiny details there, right? Okay. If you look at from here there, right? Okay, we can actually add a little bit more kind of suggestions. Copy paste, multiply. Multiply doesn't work in now there, right? Okay. Maybe burn there, right? Okay, a bit there, right? Okay. Just to add a bit more on the details there. All right. What else we can do from here, right? Okay. Maybe I can draw some. I don't want to make these areas look more hot or dead, right? Okay. That means there's a grass. That means the place that actually might actually live. For example, there, right? Okay. There has a what we call that a source of water there, right? Okay. All these kind of reflections, okay, design that we create, okay, they're going to reflect also the situations over there, right? Okay. That means okay, whatever that we do, make sure we make the place that they actually this monster live, basically logically, it can survive, right? Okay, it can survive there. What I can do right now, the rough from Bristol back again, and I'm going to paint it up. Right, paint it up there, right? I'm creating the grass itself there. So change the colors here, right? Soft a little bit and paint it right. So tiny, small changes and details will affect a lot in your presentation. Okay. All right, guys.
Okay.
All right. So this is one of the methods. Basically, I do a lot when I actually design those environments, other than just repaint back again using those brush, what we call that, directly using a free form kind of what we call that brush tool. tools that okay to work okay, because they will give me more kind of, they will emphasize more on the details, okay, the direction that I want to go from the building itself, from the design itself, where I actually want to go from there. All right, this is one of the way that it's going to work there. Okay, if I want to make the composition look more compact, okay, of course I'm going to add a foreground. Okay, this is the ground there. Okay, a foreground for this composition there. Okay, a foreground, that means there's a rocks over here maybe. Maybe there is what we call that, some sort of dead kind of log or trees over here, for example, there, right? Okay. This is a normal kind of things that we can actually add, right, in our compositions there. So what I can do from here, right, I can actually add more cool colors there, right, okay, for the drawings. Okay. What I can do, I can paint first, right? I can paint first there, right? Okay. This one, right, 3 log. Okay, the colors are going to be changed a bit, right? Okay, dark brown there. So what I can do, add a more dark brown over here first. Add a bit kind of what we call that shades or lighting there, right? Okay, from there. Same goes to this one there, right? I'm going to add a bit kind of lightings over here there, okay? Like a backlight, okay, for this composition there, okay? What I can do right now, two different kind of textures, two different kind of form that I actually create from the lasso tool, okay? This is the shapes of the rocks, for example, here, there, right? Shape of the rocks. And this is a shapes of the tree there, right? It's log. Okay, different kind of shapes there, right? Patterns that I create, okay? What I can do, copy and paste, multiply. See, two different kind of shapes that we create based on two different kind of elements there. All right. So to create a foreground itself, there, right? Okay, you can add more grasses or maybe some sort of mushroom maybe there, right? Okay. Okay. Even though there is no mushroom, right, okay, on the desert, and I think they have there, right? Okay, but you can actually make the situation more like a believable there, right? Okay, to work there. All right, guys. Okay, now basically you can see the clear ideas, okay, how actually hopefully you can get, guys can get the clear ideas where basically we can go from here. Okay, the thing that we have to do right now, all right, make sure that you guys focus, right? I told you how many illustrations, right, to present for this week, to complete for this week. 2 there, right?
Huh?
2 or 3 or 10 for the finals.
The
5.
brief says 5.
5 is it?
Yeah.
All right, focus directly on those 5 directly. So that means if you focus each illustration, right, okay, each time, right, okay, you actually can add a little bit more details from there, right, okay. I didn't actually want to basically my kind of objectives of presentations normally, right, okay. I didn't focus on the amount normally, right, okay. If the number, if you, okay, for example, if you present all the 5 drawings, but it looks not quite finished, right, okay, it doesn't look presentable, right, okay. There's no point there, okay, for you to present all those 5, all right. So make sure you have the quality first, right, okay? Focus each one of those illustrations, right, okay? Take more time to develop your understanding, to give yourself more time to think more creatively, right, okay? To add a bit more kind of level, because always have this kind of what we call the question in your mind. What else that we can add from here? What else can we add from here, right, okay? Go seek for the reference more, right, okay? Go seek for the reference a little bit more kind of understanding. Okay, what are the things that we can do from here, right, okay? What are the things that can done from this kind of what we call that buildings there that can add more? For example, there, right, okay? If I actually browse from, okay, one examples they can get, okay, this is one of the simple example using those basic structures, right, okay? shapes there, okay, of those design, okay, this kind of building, for example, okay, let me see there, okay, for example, okay, as go into details like this one there, okay, if you take a look at these buildings like this kind of Townsville kind of park entrance there, okay, all this kind of simple design, but what are the details that they actually add into those design, right? Okay, same goes to my drawing just now, right? Okay, they combine the shapes and line together in one composition there, in each element there, right? Okay, so all the details that you can see from here, even though it looks simple, okay, it give more impact on your presentation, on your works later on, even though especially when it comes to this kind of illustrations there, okay, when it comes to this cartoon styles of illustrations there, they will give more impact on your works there, right? If you take a look at this design here, there's a very good kind of composition between foreground, ground and background itself there, okay, and they add a bit element like cars and also what we call that, insect, okay, to give it more like a live kind of feel there, right? There's a living thing live in these areas there, okay? So it's not like a dead kind of areas that you work there, okay? Even though you work with perspectives like this, right, okay, make sure you have the right kind of compositions or find it the right kind of reference to guide you to work. Otherwise, work at a very simple kind of compositions like this one, right? Okay, a very straightforward kind of presentation there, but we can see all the details from there, right? But of course, we can go detail from here, okay? We can go as much detail from here, okay? Or like this one, also the same thing, right? Like Townville, kind of what we call that locations, the areas there, right? Okay, you can see all this kind of understanding on those elements that they play around with it, right? Okay, so those are the things that can be used as part of your inspirations, how it works there, right? Okay, how it works there. All right, guys. Any questions so far about the building, about the trees? I always use a bit. Yeah. Anything else there? Enos here, Enos. Enos here. Yeah. Enos, you have any questions?
Um,
No. You understand how it works there, right?
yeah.
So if you take a look at the choice of color that I used there, right? Okay, I didn't actually play a lot of colors over there, right? Okay, but I tried to use a harmonized kind of combinations, okay, between the monotonous colors there, combined with warm and cool colors at the same time there, right? Okay, so this kind of what we call that color kind of understanding for me, from my experience, it came from the process of experimenting with a lot of colors, okay, but you if you have the understanding what is warm and cool colors, all right, okay, we can actually, right, experiment with them, right? Okay, the basics kind of understanding that I can share with you guys is warm color should be in front for normally, or to make a focal kind of presentation pose, to focus more on the object, right? Okay, but cool colors has to be add a little bit more like a depth of fields to show more depths on those presentations, to show a bit more kind of distance there, okay, between foreground and the background itself there, okay. So those are the cool colors it's all about, okay. Each colors, okay, in primary and secondary colors have two different kind of type of colors there, warm and cool there. Green also have warm and cool colors there. Yellow have warm and cool colors there. Red also have. Every colors, right, combination, right? Okay, every colors combination have these two element colors that to work there. So you just have to be smart, to experiment, to work with and enjoy the process of working there. All right. So those are the way that how it works. Right? Okay. If I don't enjoy myself to show a bit more kind of tactic with you guys, right? I won't be able to produce some of the things like this, right? Okay, I'm going to force myself only, right? Okay, you can see the energy that happens from there, right? Okay, so what I can do right now, for example, here, right? So I can actually, right, play with some of the elements there. Open up your mind to see different kind of possibility of works there. Right? For me right now, let's just say I'm going to design something like this there, right? For the tree itself there. I don't find quite right, I just delete that first, right? Okay. Balance is all the key there, right? Okay. Yes? Yeah? Someone want to, do you have any questions there? Anyone have any kind of questions, inquiries, and how to detail up those works there? Okay, when I check the color back again, okay, if you normally use natural colors, right, okay, for your choices of colors, right, okay, from now on, try not to play you, even though we have to play with logic there, okay, but logic in the sense of we are not actually use the natural color that we see outside. Okay, if you take a look at your home outside, okay, there's nothing interesting about the colors there. Okay, they have a very natural monotonous kind of colors only, but no combining with warm and cool colors all the time. Okay, there's no contrast, okay, that we can see from there. So what we can do there, okay, based on your kind of understanding that you guys have learned before, right? If you have learned color combinations or color selections there, right, or color theories there, try to mix them up, right? Okay, and you will find your own kind of way of working with those kind of color combinations there, right? It takes time there, okay. I know it takes time, right? Okay, but you guys have a chance to work on that. Because the way that I've learned, right, even though I've learned also color studies, okay, like you guys before, but I didn't apply those kind of thing when I doing those. I actually study there, right, okay, formally there, right, okay. But I'm learning a lot from the experience of working there, right, okay. I do a bit more research, watch more cartoons there, right, okay, and get more kind of understanding by learning, by using observing and experiment a lot there, right, okay. So if I want to change the colors there here, right, to give more kind of varieties of kind of looks, that I can use them. Okay. You want to show more distance for these images there, right? I'm going to, first of all, change the colors over here, right? Show more distance there, okay? Purplish there, okay? Soft line there, okay? Show more distance there. Then I'm going to flip horizontals there. Past this one, I'm going to be all right, like that. So you can see the distance from here, right? Yeah, to scale a bit more, right? But the thing, the one they actually have been scaled, don't rescale them back because they're going to be look blurred, right? Okay, they're going to be blurred, right? That's how it goes there. All right, guys. We can add more shadows if I want to. We can add shadows over here, right? Add shadows over here. Open it there.
So,
Yes.
is our deadline today or is it Sunday? It's Sunday, right?
uh, yes, I will give you guys more time there, okay? Because I want you guys to gain understanding from the sessions over here, okay, or within the session for last 2 weeks, okay. So that means for me, there, okay, don't jeopardize my kind of trust on you, there, okay. Because why? Because I believe this is the process of learning there, okay. I didn't actually treat every project, even though okay, the final projects for these semesters might be we have a very strict kind of deadline because we can actually delay more there, okay. But as long as the process can be delayed there, okay, because we still in the in our own schedules there, okay, I would give you guys more chance to experiment and add a little bit more details on your presentations here because I want you guys to feel satisfied with your presentations. I don't want you guys just to submit your works just for the sake of submissions that I can get the marks and then right. close the books and open up new books there, okay? Because the process of learnings are going to continue in lifetime there, okay? Even though you're doing some business, other business later on, okay, but maybe related to creative kind of design there, okay, or process of illustration, animation, or whatever it is, right, okay? The experience that you gain will affect basically your kind of way of thinking. So that's why I'm treating our projects, project 1, project 2, is a part of the process of learning. Okay, there's much things you learn. I'm also always learn every day, right? Okay, doing research every day, right? Okay, during my sleep also I think about all the works there, right? Okay, so that means they're gonna be stopped, right? Okay, so don't actually stop yourself there, right? So that means this week I'm going to give you guys to submit on Sunday, right? Okay, on Sunday, right? Okay, but don't jeopardize those kind of what we call that time that we have. I want you guys to focus more. Okay, the videos that I have right here, I'm going to upload back in our Google Classroom, hopefully there, right? Okay, and hopefully you guys can gain from here that, okay, where actually you're going to go from there to make it more clear kind of understanding your kind of presentations, right? And you can mix them up. The methods, the way that you have worked before, and my kind of method of way of painting or working with those environment there, okay, with this kind of ideas there, okay. So you can mix them up together, okay, because it's good to have a multiple choice of weapons there, okay, for you guys to go to war there, okay. Instead, you're just using one kind of what we call that weapons there nowadays. So to give more flexibility on your kind of way of working there, okay, guys. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Anyone? Anything else there, guys?
So again, for my feedback, right? Um, yeah, what is my feedback actually from the 10 that I have?
Okay, choose 5 of them.
Choose
All right.
5.
Okay,
Okay.
choose 5 of them, the best 5 that you find interesting, okay, from your design, and try to add a little bit more detail. Try to emphasize more on the clear ideas where you want to go from here directly. If you take a look at how actually I produce the works that I've done just now, they're right.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically from your design there, okay, from your I get inspired from your works there, okay. I get inspired from your kind of sketches there, but I improvise a little bit more from there. Okay.
So it's mostly detailing, right? Do I have to change
Yes.
anything major?
Yeah, detailing, okay, okay. One of the detailing you can do, okay, during the process of painting, okay, if you say that you doesn't have time to sketch a bit more on the details there, right? So what you can do, you can add a bit more elements. Some of the elements like bricks, you can actually use as a part of paint styles there, okay, or textures that works there, okay. So the window itself, okay, if you take a look, okay, you combine using the mushroom kind of shapes of roof with the circle kind of shapes. It can be works, but you have to choose different kind of triangle or shape there, okay, for the rooftop there, okay, to make it more blend or harmonize with that design there, okay. So those kind of process of working, either you can actually work back to back, okay, from sketches to paint, or you do in the paint styles, you can actually experiment them by using different layers there, by using different layers that you work there, okay. That's how it goes. If you take a look at Cecilia kind of designer, okay, even though you want to focus this one, right? But I feel this kind of composition is quite distracting a bit, lah, right? So that means why don't you actually experiment? You just focus on the buildings here. Maybe some of the buildings on the background can be a little bit more like silhouette only there, right? Okay, some silhouette only, right? Okay, it doesn't have to be more focused a bit more, right? Okay? Because I know it's quite hard, okay? It's not that easy, right? Okay, to imagine this kind of buildings there. So Cecilia is more like a Medusa kind of type of monster there, right? So
Yep.
if you take a look back again, you focus back again on the feminine side of the characters there, okay? What are the elements that you can actually playing around with it other than just snakes there, right, okay? Sometimes the building doesn't have to reflect obviously the characters there. the personality of the characters there, right? Okay? Not the visual there, but the personality itself, okay? The feminine side of the characters there, the color that she love to wear there, right? Okay? And some of the elements like girl kind of elements that you can actually what we call that use, okay, to portray those kind of characters there, okay, for the buildings that can be used there, okay. That's why you can go back into the reference here, right? Okay, if you can find some of the reference that can suitable for you, right? Like Powerpuff Girl there, maybe I don't know there, right? Okay, or maybe Barbie kind of houses there, right? Okay. Some of the castles there, okay, maybe all this kind of feminine kind of side there, okay, of the girl there, okay. We can actually go into deep a little bit more on the character personalities and find some of the element that can represent them, right? Okay? It can be the okay, it can be right. So you have to do a bit more research from there, all right, okay, to work with it, okay,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So this is some of the good kind of example that I can show with you guys how it looks there, or maybe you can use 60s, 40s kind of 40s kind of modern houses, right? 40s, right? Look back, right? Okay, you can see, right? Okay, you can actually try to look, right? Or modern feminine houses, right? Okay, it's more like a dress there, right? Okay, but you can actually try to find there. Uh, take a look there, right? Okay, find any kind of visual that can actually help you to gain more understanding there, right? Okay, or maybe townhouses. But try to find the right, okay? Find some of the houses that can actually represent those kind of women kind of feelings there, right? Okay, that actually can help you guys to get more understanding from there, right? It can be the right, okay? So go a little bit more research a bit, right? Okay, to seek each kind of character details, right? Okay, each kind of that character details, okay. So go into one by one, right? Okay, right? Even though you can, if you don't have any ideas from one character there, you can go to another character, jump to another characters to find more element from there before you're going to go back into that characters back then to work more on the design there, okay. Always can go back to back there, okay, see what actually we can do from there. All right.
Okay. Okay.
All right, anyone else there? Anyone else? No. All right, can I see your guys face there, right? Okay, FaceTime. All right, Zoe's here. Zoe, do you have any questions? Nasreen? No?
Sir, I want to ask, Muna.
Hmm?
Because we draw 5 works, so every work can style is different or the style must the same.
Depending there, okay? Up to you. What
Okay.
style basically that you that you seek for there, okay? The style of painting or the style of design there, right?
The color and the building style.
Okay. It can be different there, okay, depending there.
Okay.
Depending how it works, okay. But the problem that I saw from most of the presentation there, right, okay, because I can see the clear ideas, okay, where the directions we can go from there, okay. Those are the problem that we have here, right? So that's why those are the things that I can send there, right? Okay, because if you actually give me this kind of what we call that visual itself, okay, that there is no enough kind of directions or the focal point there, okay, to focus there, okay, about those kind of elements there, okay, about those design itself. So it's hard for us to evaluate there, okay. We cannot actually make some decision from there, right? So that's why I'm asking you guys to focus, okay, each element of the characters or buildings that we are going to produce represent the characters itself or personality of the characters there. But focus one by one at first, okay? What are the elements that we can add from there, okay? That means you can actually practice a little bit more how actually you're going to present it well and also develop this kind of clean kind of ideas about the buildings or the environment that you present for the characters itself, right? Okay. Even though we work with 2D there, right? Okay, but all the elements basically can be designed back in 3D there, okay? It's no problem there, okay, nowadays there, okay? It's all about the how actually, right? The technical skill that we are going to add from there, all right? So make sure you have the clear ideas on the each building there first, then you move into another design there, right? Okay,
Okay.
all right. Felicia, do you have any questions? Felicia? Are you here? No? So if there weren't any questions, right, okay, hopefully, right, you guys can ask me, right, okay, personally on my message, right, okay. So thank you very much, guys, for coming. Right. Hopefully, I can see, okay, your result, okay, this Sunday, there, okay, 12 p.m. All right, 12 p.m. Or one more there, right, okay.
At I,
12 p.m. Right.
PDF or JPEG?
JPEG there, okay, JPEG there.
Okay.
I did also show you guys, okay, to present on video, but we can actually pass that. I just want to see those JPEG there, okay, JPEG files there. Right, JPEG files. All right. Okay, make sure you present it well there, right, okay. Or if you want to present like Aaron, also quite presentable there, right, okay. Like Aaron, like Kuji there, okay. Yeah, he knows also represented well there, right. I think some of you guys also presented quite well there, okay. At the beginning there, okay. You have those kind of format of presentations there. Good, right. So thank you very much, eh. See you guys, okay, later on there, okay. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.